So we have come to our first segment for today's podcast, Tips from the Trenches. In this segment, we share some self-publishing and writing-related tips with you guys. Of course, all of us here at the BookFunnel team, we happen to be self-published authors, as well as being author support specialists. So we know some stuff. We know a few things. And then, of course, we bring our guests on because they know a lot more things, right? But we do know a lot about BookFunnel. So we share some tips with you guys in order to help you guys out. So I don't know who wants to go first today. And since we have two guests, it might be kind of a special episode. I don't know if Leah, maybe you have a marketing tip for us, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to think. One thing that works really well for me and Jason is for both. I'm ambiverted, but he's definitely extroverted. And so we just talk to people. And I have noticed going to a lot of cons, people will just sit there and they'll be on their phones and just kind of scroll and wait, or they'll just kind of look around but they're not engaging with people as they pass by.
Yeah.
And I would say the biggest thing is we do not pressure sales, we pressure conversation. And one of our little tricks is we try to trade trinkets, or say like we have a sticker and we're like, hey, do you want to trade something for a sticker? And it becomes not a, hey, buy my book. It's, hey, engage with me.
And these are at those in-person events that we're going to be talking about here, right?
Yes,
so this is a tip specifically for that. Yeah.
And so, it's just us engaging with people and not making it about buy my book. It's talk to me as a human being. And then a lot of the times people will just be like, well, you got me. What's your book about? And then we make a sale and it's just nice. Right. Yeah. We also meet really cool people doing this.
Yeah. That's a really good tip. I've been in settings like that before, not as an author and I have been there for BookFunnel. It's just, but in other careers as well. So it's something I've done before. And if you haven't done it before, you need a little bit of practice to get comfortable with it. And that's a good tip. That's a good way to kind of smooth your way into, talking to folks. Talking to strangers can be tough.
It can.
Exactly. Yeah. Emma, go ahead. I teased your tip already. So go ahead and then we'll keep going from there.
My strategic activator pinged off Jason, so I'm going to save the tip I had for next week and do a new tip. That's how I roll. Okay. Because Jason mentioned
sleep. You've done
sleep.
This before?
I have. I'm very data responsive. I can't help it. But biphasic sleep. So what biphasic sleep was, it was a thing in the pre-industrial eras where humans would naturally have 2 sleep periods. So they go to bed at a normal time, then they'd get up really late, or what you consider early in the morning, and then they would do some study, prayer, some feed the chickens, and then go back to bed. Productivity. Now, I naturally wake up around 2 to 3 a.m. I'm not tired. You could be a little, but I'm not tired, and I can get in an extra hour of work. Just by taking advantage of that natural sleep cycle where, okay, I get up, I have a glass of water, I'm not like dragging. So a quick hour, even quick 30 minutes of dictation.
You're doing BookFunnel email support for our Australian users, right? Is that what you're doing at that time?
I have, and I've occasionally wondered, if they know I'm logged in right now. Like, what's Emma doing?
I've heard of that, waking up that early. And I know Jason sometimes wakes up and he's just sitting there lying in bed being like, why can't I sleep? But maybe you should get up and write that.
Well, I've heard about that with ancient minds, and especially during the winter time. So when the night got really long, there'd be that biphasic thing. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Kelly, what do you got for us today?
Okay, so mine is business related. A lot of authors, of course, we know this. It's kind of one of our things. We like to be creative, but maybe not business management side of things. And it's tax season. So here's your reminder. Get your tax software in order right now. Start actually tracking your expenses for your business. Just an hour a week or something like that. Just plan it into your day. And I use self-employed. I think it's QuickBooks Self-Employed. It's basic, I think it's like $10 a month. And it helps just to keep me, organized, because I'm not that organized when it comes to the finance stuff. So now I'm going and looking for my receipts and going back to March of last year and trying to figure out when did I buy that cover or that sort of thing. So keep your chickens in a row now, or ducks in a row now. And get your software done now so that you can manage your 20, 25 books now.
Yeah.
I feel personally attacked by that tip.
No, I know. So I've previously done some other things. I used to do an eBay store, and with eBay, you're buying shipping materials and a lot of other expenses that you have and equipment, things like that. And then you're buying shipping labels and so forth. And so an app like that was absolutely essential.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Yes. An app like what I use, an app similar to what Kelly described, is Keeper Tax, I think, is the app that I've used. I think it probably does something similar. It's able to access your bank statements and bank account, and then it categorizes your purchases, and it's really simple. And so it was like absolutely essential for something like that. And so to me, then looking at like my author business, which is so much simpler, and granted, I'm not out here, making tons of money yet from just my writing, right? BookFunnel is my main gig, but even then, it's like, man, something like that, it saves you a lot of headaches. So that's a good tip. It's a good tip. Jason.
Kelly, I'm signing on right now. There's a free trial. Thank you.
Jason, what do you have to share with us today, tip-wise?
Oh my gosh, so many thoughts. So keeping it focused with in-person sales and connection with people. And we can dig into a whole bunch of ideas about this, but one of the biggest keys is when we talk about mirror neurons, we talk about that ability to have the positive interaction with people when they meet you for the first time. If you're in a state of worrying about sales or worrying about how many books I've got to sell at this convention or whatever, if you're just having fun and you're setting your goals, and we could talk maybe a little later about like how to set goals that drive sales, but when you're just having fun, people pick up on that. They start having rapport, and that's really, really critical, because the first step in the sales process is build rapport. And a lot of people miss that. So that's a big tip, is to have fun and try and loosen up and just really enjoy yourself when you're trying to sell, which seems counterintuitive, but.
Right. No, I've been there, different setting, but nonetheless, when you're trying to sell anything to someone, the worst thing that you can do is to try to sell them something.
100%.
Honestly,
there's a reason people hate car salesmen.
Yes. No. Yeah. When you've met a good one, because they're not talking to you about buying the car; they're talking to you about other stuff. And that's almost recently, unfortunately, the car itself was a bit of a lemon. That's another story. But the salespeople we dealt with, they were nice. I don't think they really knew what was up with the car, but that's another story. Anyway, my tip for today, before we wrap up this segment, very simple around dictation, because I know a lot of folks are thinking about dictation, considering dictation for all the many benefits that dictation can bring. What I have started doing and has really benefited me is I'm making a transition from, I've been a keyboard, warrior for a long time. I wrote most of my books previously on my laptop. And then I switched at some point, because I'm psychotic, to writing on my phone while I'm walking on a treadmill.
It worked.
Like on a treadmill, writing on my phone with my thumbs. Still got a pretty decent word count when I did it. People were like, how do you do that? It wasn't actually that bad once you get used to it. But now transitioning from that to now trying out dictation and trying to get the majority of my words from dictation. Do your outlines with dictation. When you're outlining, right, you might have kind of a more natural pace where you'll have an idea, so you can speak it out, and then you'll pause for a little bit, and then you'll speak the next idea, and that might help you create the cadence that you need for when you do ultimately start writing with dictation. I found that useful. So if you're wanting to try out dictation, try it out with outlining first. And I got to say, this is also, I'm kind of stealing this from Katie Cross, because she also mentioned that she does the same thing. That's where I got the idea originally from. It works, guys. If you're not sure about dictation, you're on the fence, or you just want to try it without like the commitment of, okay, I have to write a book with this brand new technique that I've never really done before. Try outlining, or just, putting ideas like world building or character building, something like that. But whatever your process is, try it with that first before you actually dive into writing a book with dictation. It might work for you.
Well, it's really important to note, too, that it does feel awkward, especially when you're very first doing it. It is a very awkward feeling to be like, I'm just talking really slowly to myself.
Yes.
Like, It's a very awkward feeling, but
I do
that's
that all
okay.
the time. So
Yeah. My kids are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like mumbling to myself in my office. So yeah, I mean, it does feel awkward, and that's okay. Like, embrace that, because that's the reason why most people, when they're like, "Nope, I can't do it. My brain just doesn't work that way." And we had Becca on from AutoCrit. She talked about how many words she was getting. She gets like 160,000 words a month using dictation, and she just blows the doors off of it. And she's like, yeah, I'm at my kid's marching band on my device, like talking into my phone. And so that sort of thing, but it does feel really awkward. But once you kind of get into the swing of it, it actually is, it's just wiring your brain to do it. That's all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, well, and the type of stuff that Becca is writing too,
Yeah.
because she's writing more of the you know, racy kind of stuff,
Senior
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
and she's doing it in public as like, okay, if she can
She's
do
really
it,
careful though. She did say I'm
if
pretty
she can do
careful.
if she can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That was part of my thought too. So so yeah. Anyway, there's my tip. That wraps up the tips from the trenches for this episode.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.